Cool. All right. So does everyone have the 4 points?
Yeah.
Okay. Next slide. All right. Next, I wanna discuss skyscrapers. So why do you think that there was a need to build skyscrapers in these cities?
Because it's going to get.
Yep.
So, like, because people are going to get, like, it's going to be a lot of people there. So, and you only have that little bit of space in New York.
That's 100% right. So just think about it. If there's all the jobs are in New York City, Chicago, and these big cities, the land is going to be a lot more valuable. Therefore, they have to build up. Just because there's not enough space. So the big thing to remember about skyscrapers is they developed steel frame buildings, and the steel frame construction allowed them to build way, way higher. The picture that you see in the top left-hand corner, this is the Chicago Home Insurance Building that was constructed in 1884. At the time, it was 10 stories tall, which was like biggest structure at that time. The picture on the right, has anyone seen that one before?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Burj Khalifa that's in Dubai.
Caleb.
So just think, like in what was the year? In 1884, you have a 10-story building, and then in 2009, you have a 163-story building and stuff. Huh? Sorry, what was the question? Has Tokyo, is that one past the Burj Khalifa? The one that you're talking about, has it passed it?
It's in Dubai.
It's in United Arab Emirates. It's in the Gulf. All right, next slide. Leave it up for another minute. People are still ready. Yeah, Miss Kolb, she's passing out what would have been the warm-up, so we're going a little out of order today. So I'll get through the slides, and then we can go through, you'll have plenty of time to do the warm-up activity and the class activity.
So,
You'll have plenty of time. All right, next slide.
you failed us.
Okay, so problems in cities. A lot of the problems that occurred in cities are the same problems that you'll see in cities today. There was a rise in crime at this time, murder rates went up, violence, fire, disease, many of these things would be expected. Some of the poor residents that were living in tenement houses in places like New York, they didn't have proper sanitation, so they didn't have toilets. There was high prevalences of disease. So things like typhoid, cholera. What's up?
Did they go out the window?
A lot of times. I mean, what are you going to do? What was the question?
Outhouse. They dig a hole in the ground.
Yeah, well, if they would need an outhouse, but if you're living in an urban city on top of each other, it's hard. They didn't have things in place to get rid of all the waste. So at this time, especially.
Excuse me, we're talking too much. All the extra conversation. So Caleb.
So, yeah, but does that answer your question about that?
These weren't just points.
Yeah, these are warnings. Okay. So that's the big thing. Fire, disease, pollution, and there was also a rise in diseases. Next slide. All right, so the picture here on the right, this is taken by a photographer by the name of Jacob Riis. So what Jacob Riis did is he went into these poor communities. They were called tenement housing, and he documented the way that people were living. So, I mean, can someone tell me what they see in this picture? Lisa.
These people are like all living in like one big heap together, and it's like really small, and there's like no light. There's like hardly any light like that.
Exactly. Anything else you want to add?
I see at least like about 3 people sleeping up there,
Mhm.
about 4 people sleeping down there, 2 people sleeping over there, 1 person right there, 1 person right there, and some boots, and it looks like an old radio.
That's
And I
right.
think those boots have like soggy socks.
That's good. I mean, these were extremely poor people. And what Jacob Reese did through his photography, it was he brought the struggle of these working people so that upper class and middle class people, they could see what the other half was going through. So just make sure that you know what tenements are. This was multifamily apartment, usually dark, crowded, and barely meeting minimum living standards. Another important thing to notice in the time about classes, this was the beginning of public transportation. So you have middle class, you'd have a middle class in the cities that would be moving away from the center where all the factories were. And you had things like streetcars, trolleys, and it made it so that people, they could commute into the city to work. The wealthier classes, they lived in different, richer parts of the city. So it was, cities were divided by how much income you have. Yes?
So you said he took pictures to show rich people or wealthy people how these people are living. Was he himself a richer person?
He was not rich, but he went to, I mean, he did okay, he was famous, but you're going to read about him, I have a little blurb in your activity. But he went to live with these, with the people in the tenement houses, so he experienced what they were going through. He really tried to make his photography as realistic as possible, just to draw attention to the awful situation they were living in. Yes, sir.
So he lived with these people to take pictures?
Yeah, because before this time, people, they could write about poverty. They could, you could write cartoons, giving like commentary on what's going on. But this, if you see this, you can't. If you're a politician, you can't look at this and say, "Oh, there's no poverty in the city." This guy, I mean, it really brought it to life for people. So that's why Jacob Reese is super important.
It's
Next slide.
Jacob Reese.
Why is it a coincidence that it was mostly men or only men out there?
It's a coincidence, I'd say. There's some pictures in your package that you'll see, which don't jump to yet, but there'll be some women in there. He took pictures of all types of people, whether women, children, men. He really tried to capture how people are living.
What are political machines?
Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is a concept called political machine. So I want you to imagine for a moment that you're a brand new immigrant coming to the United States, you're getting off the boat from Ireland, you're escaping a potato famine,
Or the Caribbean?
or the Caribbean, or anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter where. But so you get to Ellis Island, you get off the boat in New York City, and you don't know anything. So these people in the political machines, they would come, they'd offer you a job, they'd offer you maybe some financial assistance, they'd offer you health care, they'd offer you at least the things you needed to get started. In exchange for that, they would expect to get your votes. So they were extremely corrupt. Political machines, they helped new immigrants for votes. Yes?
So political machines are basically,
Not an actual machine, they're people. They're like politicians, corrupt politicians.
so they're basically a bunch of people who want to like saying vote for me. It's like they act like they're always your friend and stuff, but then when it's voting time, they're just like knocking on you, being off on you, like vote for me.
Well, like for instance, if you were to come into the United States as an immigrant, I'd offer you a job in a factory because I know the factory boss. But in exchange, I want you to vote for me. And if I need to ask a favor of you later, you're going to do it for me because I helped you out. They had the same connections with in every industry. The political machine, they could control politics. They could control businesses. They had their hand in everything. Jessica?
Does it mostly say immigrants?
No.
It should only say immigrants once. If you wrote it down twice, I'm sorry your hand's sore, but you only had to write it down once. Yes?
So, did the immigrants actually like vote for them? Because
They did. And because they were doing a lot of good things. Like for me, if I didn't know anyone and they're giving me all these great things, I'm not gonna have any ill feeling toward them. I'm gonna.
Aren't they just trying to raise enough money to give more money to their relatives back home and prevent them? So
So why can't you just say, oh, I'll let you help me, but no, just go home before you ask them?
No,
No, I mean, the immigrants that were coming to the United States, they wanted to start a new life.
He still gives you stuff, and then you
All right, I want to go on to the next slide. I want to talk about some real corruption. Okay, so this guy here, super important if you could remember him. William Boss Tweed.
I'm a boss.
Yeah.
Did you make tweet pants?
No, but we don't need to talk about that right now. William Boss Tweed, he ran the Democratic Party in New York City, and he was able to use, like, remember I just talked about political machines? He was I guess you would say he was the one that used political machines more than anyone else for his advantage. What he would do, like, he controlled elections, he controlled judges, big businesses. If I needed anything done in the city, he was sort of like, if you heard the movie The Godfather, he was that kind of figure in New York City. He could get anything done. If you needed a favor, you needed something done, he could do it. Isa,
I have a question about the homework.
do you want to wait till the end and we'll go over the homework?
It's kind of about like this.
Okay, what was the question?
Like, so for the homework, I know we have like a bookwork, but will the quiz, we still have a quiz on the homework and like what we learned today?
Yeah, you're gonna have a quiz every day.
Do you have a bookwork?
You're gonna
He said
have to do these assignments, and then you'll have the quiz on Monday. But not on Monday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. So, anyways, Mr. Tweed. Let's go to the next slide, and I'm gonna. Or you're still writing this out. You're gonna learn in a second that William Boss Tweed, the biggest corruption scandal that he was involved in was a thing called Tammany Hall. In New York City, he wanted to construct a courthouse. So this courthouse, it was supposed to cost only $6 million. Because he had so much sway in the government, he was able to ask for political favors. So it ended up costing, you want to jump to the next slide?
No, wait.
No, you left.
Yeah, next slide. So the thing I'm talking about right now is the Tweed ring, the Tweed scandal. So the courthouse that William Boss Tweed wanted to finance, it was supposed to cost taxpayers only $250,000, or that would be $6 million in today's money. So just think about that. $6 million is what the courthouse was supposed to cost. What it ended up costing was $200 million. I mean, that's crazy. It was the most expensive building project in the United States history. It cost more money to build this courthouse than the entire United States Capitol. And the reason he got away with this is because he had his hand in all these different businesses. He was able to give away contracts. So imagine all of you work for a plumbing company, and I need to hire somebody to put in new sinks in my courthouse. What I would do is I would tell you, okay, I'll give you a contract to do all the plumbing work for my building. I'm going to pay you, even though it should only cost $1,000, I'm going to pay you $10 million. Doesn't that seem crazy? So it should only cost $1,000, but I'm going to pay you $10 million. And in gratitude, you're going to give me a piece of that. So you give me back like $6 million.
It's still a lot.
So
I do that all the time.
does that make sense? So if I hire you to put in all the chairs in the building, and it should only cost $100, you're gonna be paid $1,000, but you're gonna give me back 500 of it. So that was the corruption. Tweed, he made this exorbitant cost. The building should have cost $6 million, ended up costing $200 million. Yeah.
If we have to give him 500, the market needs to be 500.
Because he was going to make money off it. Him and his friends, they found a way to cheat the system. And remember, Tweed, he had his hand, like he knew all the business owners, he knew everybody. He was a politician, but he was also a criminal. And he would eventually get caught for this scandal. Yes, Lisa?
Okay, so basically, he tried to hear nice of people people like twice as what they had to go, and it's like, all right, nope, you're that.
No, so these contractors, the companies that were coming in to do the work, they were in on it too. They were getting paid exorbitant prices. So everyone was making money. He was making money. His ringleader, all the other people, what? Yeah, the citizens in New York who were paying taxes, they were the ones losing money. But the contractor, because, this money, this $200 million, it comes from the people living in the city. It comes from taxes. So this money doesn't come from nowhere. Something that should have cost $6 million costed $200 million. That means, Tweed, he was stealing from his own people. So he was discovered. The New York Times came out with an article basically exposing everything that Tweed did. And he was arrested and sentenced to jail.
But he escaped.
Yeah, he escaped. But we're going to learn there was a very, very important person by the name of Thomas Nast. And he was the one to first expose Mr. Tweed for all his corruption. And we're gonna talk about it in just a second. Do you want to jump to the next picture?
How does Tweed escape?
Talk about it. Okay. Someone like to read the quote on the top? Good.
I don't care so much what papers write about me. My
Hey, lady.
students can't read, but they can see the pictures.
Yeah. So what do you think that means?
I don't know.
Did,
Me?
yeah.
Oh, okay, Tweed's like Heinz and stuff can't read, so he doesn't really care about what people write about him, but if it's like a cartoon, that's what he's mad about because people can still comprehend what it's
Yeah, I mean, these political cartoons were extremely influential. And Thomas Nast, you look at this one here. You have Tweed. He's got money bags for a head. Looks super corrupt. Yeah, big, fat criminal. All the things are right. He was the one that was able to really sway the public to realize that Tweed was a crook. So an interesting thing about Thomas Nast, William Boss Tweed, after he was arrested in New York City, because of his influences, he was able to break out of prison. He was able, he knew the judges at that time. He knew all the police officers. He'd probably given jobs to all the people at the courthouse. So he was able to get out of jail, and he fled to Spain. Somebody in Spain sees one of Thomas Nast's cartoons, recognizes Tweed, and that's how he gets rearrested. So at that time, it's pretty amazing. Yes, you have a question?
So Tweed couldn't read?
No. Okay, so Tweed couldn't read, but you think about. Tweed could read. Think about the new people that are coming to the United States. You have a lot of immigrants. You have a lot of people coming from not urban places, from rural places. So maybe they're not reading newspapers every day, but they did look at these cartoons. They were extremely influential. Tweed could read. Yeah, Tweed. Tweed could read. And Thomas Nast could read also. Yes.
They all look
Okay, so how did they know it was?
Okay, they could read. Everyone could read. I think we got off topic a little bit. Thomas Nast, he was a political cartoonist. So he saw that William Boss Tweed was corrupt. He was stealing from the people of New York. He made all these cartoons that exposed William Boss Tweed. Yes, Hayden.
Who was the president and why wasn't the president standing in?
The president at this time was, who's the president this time? Is it Brian?
No, Brian's never president.
No.
It's either Cleveland or one of the two.
I think it's
Cleveland.
Cleveland. I think it's Cleveland.
Garfield, Cleveland, Garfield, Cleveland.
That's Nolan. Yeah, that's me.
I gotta double check. But
It's
Yes.
someone.
Nolan,
It's
double check.
What is it?
either Cleveland, Garfield, Cleveland, or
McKinley.
Is it
McKinley.
something like that.
One of those three.
Okay, so everybody, that's the last slide that I want you to do. So the activity today, you have like a jumbo activity because we missed the warm-up. So the warm-up, I want you to read about William Boss Tweed,
He's going to get
and there's a couple follow-up questions from the text that I want you to answer.
So I'm to be.
After you're done with that, the next activity, there's a series of pictures from Jacob Reese. They show like what life is like in the tenement houses. I want you to look at them critically and think like, what do these pictures represent? Question one is, who do you think these people were? Look at them. Maybe you can tell me something about the clothes they're wearing, the environment of the house, just anything that you can draw on from the pictures and what you already know. And I want to see complete sentences and just try and think critically. There's no real wrong answer. I just want to see you thinking critically and interpreting the pictures. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Did you not get a packet?
You staple all the packets, Carol.
I know.
Or
No,
did
but
you
you
give?
pass them around.
I know, but here, I assumed that you would just take one for yourself. Come on, Carol. Because you can't.